Welcome! In these videos, we guide you as a client on what to do when you procure construction goods and services. In this video, we look at complying with the B.U.L.D program in your construction procurement. The B.U.L.D program comprises of two elements. Number one, the B.U.L.D standards, and number two, the B.U.L.D fund. These two elements apply as much in the public sector as they do in the private sector. It is important to know when and how the B.U.L.D program applies to your construction procurement. So, when do B.U.L.D standards apply to your construction procurement? Well, this depends on the type and the value of the construction project you're procuring for. There are currently two standards in the B.U.L.D program, and these are the Standard for Enterprise Development and the Skills Development Standard. The Standard for Enterprise Development applies to all civil engineering and general building projects above 20 million rand. The construction project involved must be at least 6 months in duration. The Skills Standard applies to number one, all construction projects above 20 million rand in all CIDB class of works. The construction project involved must be at least 12 months in duration. And number two, all professional services construction contracts of 5 million rand and above and 12 months duration. The purpose of the B.U.L.D standards is to provide practical training and development opportunities for learners, candidates and emerging enterprises on construction projects. When must you introduce the B.U.L.D standards in construction procurement? The required time to introduce the B.U.L.D standards is when you draft the tender document and when you advertise your tenders. For a project that falls in the threshold value, it is a requirement to specify in the tender documents that the scope of work of the project includes implementing the B.U.L.D standards by the successful tenderer. By including the B.U.L.D standards in the tender documents, you, as a client, alert the contractors or the professional service providers of their contractual duty to implement the B.U.L.D standards. Next, let's look at where and when to apply the B.U.L.D fund in your procurement. The B.U.L.D fund is mandatory to all construction projects above 20 million rand. It applies equally to public and private sector projects. It is mandatory for you as a client to pay to the CIDB 0.2% of the project value at the time of the award of the contract. This amount is capped at 2 million rand per project. It is mandatory to register the award of your construction contract on the CIDB Register of Projects and to include the B.U.L.D standards that are applicable to your project. Thank you for watching. Please watch our other videos on this series.